Hi, I'm Belinda Fenty.
And I'm Pauline Nakiria.
Welcome to Let's React podcast, the podcast that amplifies the voices of artists from underrepresented backgrounds in the UK and beyond.
Yeah, we'll share our experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. From addressing underrepresentation
to celebrating diverse, rich stories.
Join us on this journey as we react to the world around us and inspire change in the industry.
Hello and welcome to Let's React podcast. I'm Belinda Fenty and I'm here with the radiant
Pauline Nakiria. Yes, thank you, Belinda. I always love your intros. I'm very inspired by them. And yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. Today we have a fantastic guest. I know I keep saying fantastic, but honestly, they're really fantastic people we keep meeting. But we have a wonderful filmmaker, Derrick Kakembo, who is also from Uganda. What? I am finding my people, you know. No, I sounded West African there. I am finding my people. There we go. That sounds much better. We hope you enjoy this interview. We're definitely going to have him back on the show, I think, because we always want to have everyone back so we know how they're doing. But yeah, enjoy. Welcome to Let's React podcast. Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Belinda, this is Derrick.
Hey, Derrick.
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So since you're a complete mystery to me, Derrick, and I must be to you.
Yeah.
What 3 words or things would give me the essence of who you think you are?
Ooh. Okay. An essence of what? Okay. That's a trick question. I like to describe myself as a hustler. I feel like I'm a hustler. Adventurous and adventurous, and I think I'm a dreamer. I think deep down I'm a dreamer. Yeah.
He's a hustler, baby.
Exactly.
He's adventurous too. And he likes to dream.
Your voice is amazing. No, you guys have great energy.
So do you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love that.
It's nice. It's nice to throw people into that moment, like, oh, what?
Yeah, I'm always curious about, and it gives me a little taste of the person, because those are very distinct words that you have just chosen. Not many people would describe themselves as an adventurer or a hustler in particular.
Well, I think hustler, because obviously everything in life is a hustle. You know what I mean? I feel like to get anything done, you gotta have that hustler's mentality. And adventurous means like, I feel like you have to be ready to just go on a journey, whether it's physically traveling or trying something new. And I feel like you need, in our business anyways, in our line of work, I feel like you need that in you to just keep trying things, you know, get into the unknown. And then a dreamer, I feel like you have to dream, you know? Sometimes dreams are obviously scary because things can be so big. But if you don't dream, I feel like you never get there. You have to fast dream before you do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
That's true.
For me, it's similar. It's like shooting for the stars, and maybe you land on the moon, but you need to shoot. You know, how far do you want to shoot? Don't add limits. What are you dreaming for? What are your goals? There's no point in being, you know how people are like, oh, I'm going to be realistic. You don't know what that is, but I do know that if you limit yourself, then often you're not going to surpass what you could potentially do.
And dreams are scary, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dreams are scary because you can, there's fate. And yeah, do you know what it is? I'm embracing this more and more. Failing is so important to fail. Like, we need to fail. And I feel like I don't actually fail enough. And I feel like every time you fail, it's a lesson. But if you're not failing, it means you're not pushing yourself. And it's like, it's almost naive and arrogant to think that you're going to do something and you're going to be good at it and you're going to smash it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the arrogance you're thinking that you're going to just succeed at fast go. Like, it's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, you have to fail. Like, when you look at like Cristiano Ronaldo, he misses the most shots out of everyone. Like, if you look at the amount of shots he misses and the amount of goals he scores, he actually misses the most shots out of everyone ever. But every time he scores that one, it's the one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're only taking 5 shots, you can't be naive and arrogant to think you're going to score 5 goals. So you need to take essentially 50 shots to get 3 goals. And it's like...
Great analogy. Yeah,
analogy is good. Yeah. You don't really think about that in that sense when you think about it, that actually when you see how someone is that thing of pulling yourself back up, you're like, okay, I didn't get that one. How am I going to get it this time? How am I going to? So you keep pushing and pushing. So it allows you to push yourself even more and further, right? So
Yeah. And failure is what makes you obviously I hate that failed things. I've had jobs where the sound has failed. I didn't fix this. And it's like those things that you fail at is where that it gives experience, obviously, to know how to approach it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like failing is so scary. Like it's like people don't take that step.
Yeah. But I think because they think when they fail, that's the end. Sometimes some people, I think there's also that mentality that if they fail at something, that is the end of that something, and not realizing that maybe that's just one of the hurdles they have to go over.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a scary thing because they feel like that's the end. It's finished. If I failed at this, it means that I can't do it, or I can't do it again, or try something else. And that's scary for a lot of people, especially when they put a lot of time into something and then suddenly it's just
it can break your confidence, right? So then you could be like, I'm never gonna be good at this. That's when people give up. But actually you could take a positive stance and go, okay, what am I gonna learn from this? Let me go again.
You know, it's just like babies. You know how many times babies get up and just drop and just bang their head, but they just keep going. I mean, like boom, go again. And the parents are like, oh no, he banged his head. The baby, but if you, do you know what I mean?
It's true. And you think they're gonna learn, and then you're like, come on, don't do it. And then they just keep going. Oh, that's so true.
It's needed. Obviously, it's scary because obviously you start something and the idea that you're going to lose money, you're going to lose time, and it's not going to work is crazy. You just have to do it. You have to be prepared to lose money, time, and effort and everything else. Do you know what I mean? Like it's naive to think your first piece of work, your first article that you've written, your first picture are going to be amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so naive to think that you're just going to wake up one day and you're good. You have to, you know?
Speaking of that, how did your creative journey begin? And can you tell me and our listeners what you do creatively?
In terms of the journey, how would you want me to categorize it?
If you have many different artistic avenues, so I mean, the journey could begin in the womb, or it could begin last year, or I guess whatever feels right for you as the place.
Okay. I guess what I would do is I would sort of mention key points, key stages. So I was born in Uganda.
Oh wow!
You know, I was born in Uganda, moved to England when I was about 12 years old. That I studied here, second school. University. I went to De Montfort University, and after that, went to art school for about a year, and then I did a BA in photography and design. Came out, assisted a few photographers, freelance as a photographic assistant. But I've always wanted to do film of some sort. And then after about 2 years of assisting freelancely, I started working for a photographer director called Rankin for about just under 4 years.
The famous one, sorry. The famous Rankin.
Rankin's famous.
Very famous.
So I've done about 4 years of working for Rankin, as well as Hanger Magazine, which is a magazine he obviously owns. And then while I'm there, I left and I've created, times things overlapped a little bit. I've created Repump the Funk, which is a publication, which obviously ended up being a film production company. And then from there, I've just kind of worked as a photographer and as a filmmaker, mainly making kind of like art films, working with museums, working with music artists, and kind of making music films. Still a very personal work, still very Black work, very African work. And then about 2 years ago, I started writing my short film called Jar, and then we made it and we premiered it, and now we're here. That's a very quick, I guess, key points of the creative journey getting here.
That's really cool. I'm also getting to learn about Derrick and Belinda because our only kind of like basically relationship is from working on Koja, your short film. It was really nice to actually be a part of that, and you know, it really kind of inspired me to focus on actually telling stories from Africa and especially Uganda, and so it's nice to hear that. And when you kind of decided to write that, so just going to the film, talk about the film, what inspired you to write Koja?
Thank you. So I have 3 sisters and they all have kids. But I think what really inspired me to make Koja was my relationship with my nephews. Just growing up in London, I was about maybe 25 and they were like maybe 13, 12 and 13. And I just remember I was my older sister's biggest support network in terms of being the peasant black male.
Yeah.
And I just remember taking them to football and trying to be there for them. But I just remember not feeling quite good enough myself in terms of how I was trying to look after them and just kind of give them the game. And I didn't have a game myself. I felt like I was quite just navigating life and I didn't know what I was talking about. And I just realized that there must be a lot of young black males like myself who are forced to raise maybe the siblings or the nephews without really having the know-how. So I think my conversations with me trying to raise these little black boys kind of inspired me to make this film, but it was also like a mirror for me to really question myself, to question my views, you know? And it's like, I remember telling my nephew one time after a football session, he wasn't running hard enough. And I was like, why are you not running hard enough? Like, that's the bare minimum you're going to do. And I remember not wanting to tell him that he's got to work 10 times as hard. Because I didn't want to say that to him. But I just felt like I had to say that to him, you know what I mean? And I remember telling him, no, you got to work 10 times harder. He's like, why? And I'm like, actually, yeah, why? But I know why. And I think those kind of conversations and me being scared for them made me want to write the film. And it's the thing, was I scared for them? Was I scared for myself? Was I putting my own perception and perspective of life onto them? But was my experience informing how I was raising them? All those kind of nuances kind of inspired me to make a film, you know?
Wow.
In a way.
That's beautiful. I need to see this film.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously, once I started writing, developed it, and started creating a story around it. But that was the initial. It was definitely my fears of life that made me want to write the film. And it's great because obviously I'm in a different place of life to what I was back then. But that's the beauty of it, is that I feel like it captures, it archives my mental state of that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners and me what Koja is about?
So Koja means mother's brother. You know, in Uganda, there's a tribe called Baganda, which is a very big tribe there. You get paternal titles. So your dad's sister's called Senga, your grandparents are called Jaja, and Koja is your mother's brother. So even though you have many uncles and aunties, Koja is a very specific title. It's paternal. So that's what the title means. But the short film is about this guy that's trying to raise his nephew, and he has to kind of decide whether to prepare him for the real world or to preserve his innocence. And in the film, it's about the journey that he goes through. The idea was you see this character being influenced by different people in his life, from his sister, from his nephew himself, and from the real world. And I kind of created these different characters to kind of, I guess, showcase where his views come from. So he's a conflicted guy. It's very conflicted. So with his sister, the relationship is very much like about being an immigrant. Do you know what I mean? Being an African guy. He's close to his sister, they speak the same language, but then you can clearly see the struggle that the young nephew doesn't speak the language. And then there's no dad in the picture, so he's getting a lot of influence from school. And at the same time, this guy is also being influenced by his friends who also haven't quite succeeded in life. So in the film, my idea was to kind of show different conversations and see how his interactions with different people leads to the kind of decisions that he makes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm loving the sound of it. It sounds like it's one that's going to raise lots of questions. I love films that make me both think and feel.
Yeah. It's definitely one. And obviously the film ends with it's a question mark.
It's a little cliffhanger. The amount of times I had people going, so when is the next one?
Yeah. But I must say also, working with you, Pauline, I think more than anything, I think what's done for my career and for my journey as a director, writer, and creative is that it's informed the kind of work I want to make. I think it's important to say that when I first wrote Koja, it was about it wasn't actually a Ugandan guy, it was an African guy, even though it was an African guy, and I wanted a Ugandan mom because I like the nuances of it, but the guy didn't actually have to be Ugandan. But then after we did a casting for the mother, after I saw Pauline's self-tape, I was like, shit.
Yes.
It was like a big moment in my creative career, my journey to realize this is the stories I want to tell. So Pauline's character, how Pauline played it, was the first time I've seen something that I can relate to. Sometimes I've seen something I feel like, oh my God, that's me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
for
then,
sure.
and then when Pauline did the Luganda audition and the mannerism of it, I was like, I know that character. And I realized from then on, that's the film I wanted to tell. And those are the films I wanted to tell moving forward in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So then we went back, and then so at a point we was casting for different Black British, because the character's not written to speak Luganda. We were casting for different Black British men, and we had done casting, we'd done auditions and stuff. And after seeing Pauline's thing, I said, okay, I want a Ugandan guy. I want a Ugandan guy, which is obviously production in terms of production super hard because there's not many.
Yeah.
So then I went back and I said, okay, I want to create a Ugandan family. I want to create a Ugandan household. I know what I want to make. So my relationship with Pauline is basically me saying to the world, this is my voice.
Oh,
This
I
is
love
the stories I
that.
want to tell. Yeah. And
Aw.
Pauline played a big part in my journey as a creative.
Oh, that's
type of thing.
beautiful.
Oh, it means
We
so
hear a
much to
lot
me.
about
To say that.
collaboration, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Mm,
really warming that a connection with someone, can potentially change the landscape of your entire life,
absolutely.
career,
Because I
and
think before then, obviously I'm a Ugandan director, but I think before then, I don't know. My next film would have been in English after that. But I think after Pauline, it was like, okay, everything is in Uganda now. Everything, 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 everything. Like the characters are ever Ugandans living in England or Ugandans living in Uganda. It's like, okay, that's my voice, that's my lane. I'm done.
wow,
From now
wow.
on, and that's what we're gonna do.
And it's funny that you say that. I really, honestly, it means so much hearing that. That's when I started also writing more about like thinking, looking into folklore in Uganda. So I've briefly told Derrick about it. So I'm writing a story about like not like the first woman, but she was the daughter of a god. This is like from this daughter of a god who runs away with a human being to live on
That's
Earth
crazy.
type of thing. So basically,
Oh,
she's called Nambi,
yeah,
and the man
feminist.
himself is called Chintu. And he basically had this guy. She used to watch him playing with it, like obviously living on the land and stuff. And then she kind of invited him into heaven just to see what it's like and things like that. And she fell in love with him. And so she wanted to run away with him to Earth, but her family were against it. And so basically so she ran away with him. She managed to trick her brothers. One of her brothers was not really happy and he followed her to
Mm-hmm.
Earth. The story is that he became death and he promised her that he would basically kill her children as a
That's
punishment
crazy.
type thing. So because I've always wanted to write something around this woman and who she was and what it meant to be that. So I've kind of started it on little bits and bobs. And originally I'd set it like post where it's set in like also the UK because that's kind of what I know now. But then I was watching after Kodja, like watching a few other African stories, films, short films, and things like that. And then being part of Kodja and talking to you, I realized no, actually, it could be set in Uganda, modern day Uganda. So the way
Mm.
I'm writing it is that she is in present day. And yeah,
Oh,
I don't want to,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, that
because
sounds
I've started writing,
yeah, that sounds
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
I
love
am
it.
in. Take my
Um,
money.
I want to watch it. Yeah, I'm ready.
so yeah, so I'm halfway writing it. I wanted to finish at least the first draft of the script. So at the moment, writing it like a short.
I
The
love
long
the
plan is going to be either
feature.
a TV show or a film. But I think it'd be better as a TV
Ooh.
show because
Ooh.
there's so many stories and parts of it to tell.
Mm.
So I'm writing the short as a proof of concept, and that's what I wanted to share. But I wanted to share that with you, Derrick, after I've done it so that you
Of course.
can fully immerse yourself into the
It
story and
sounds
see what I'm coming
so
from.
did you read the book Kintu then?
Yeah, so Chintu, so it's a story I grew up with because I also was born in Uganda, obviously, and then I came to the UK, slightly older. But when we were kids in boarding school, we used to tell each other stories, and it was
Yeah.
always interesting to listen to. And so Chintu is one of those stories where we're obsessed with, and you just hear the stories about. You always hear about Chintu, the character, the man, the Walumbe. It's the men, their father Gulu, the king, the god Gulu. So Gulu is like heaven. But these are the stories you hear about, but you never hear about Nambi, even though they're like, oh,
Mm.
she's the mother, she looks after everything. And, this we have this because of her, we have this because of her, because she loved the earth and she loved everything in it. So yeah,
So
and
you're
I've
like
always
shining a light on the woman's story,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, on her story. And when I
Mm.
did First Woman, where I met
That's
another
amazing.
Uganda actor. So First
Big,
Woman
big,
is
big,
the
big, big.
audiobook that I did, Belinda,
Yeah,
remember
I
a few
remember.
years back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyone also read that as well, she kind of, when she talks about the first woman, she briefly talked about Nambi in that.
Amazing.
But but hers is a coming of age story
Mhm.
throughout, like from the 60s, 70s, Uganda. And I loved how she did it, but the relationship of this character who just wanted to connect with her community, but didn't know how because she was different as a woman. And then she talks about why the power that women have. So yeah, no, like kind of got into to talk about what I'm doing. No,
Yeah.
Derek, this
Yeah, but
is
that's
about you
another. Yeah,
though.
but that's no, not even that. But that's another great book. The First Woman. That's also what's her name again?
Jennifer
Jennifer.
Makumbi.
Jennifer and Subuga. Is it Jennifer
Jennifer
and Subuga?
Sugar Makumbi, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing book. That's an amazing book again. And I think those kind of books are definitely, we don't have many Ugandan writers that are working on that level with Ugandan stories.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. I'm also inspired by her work greatly. Oh, I've read all her
Yes.
work apart
Wow.
from Chintu.
Yeah, she's an amazing Ugandan writer. She's based in the UK as well. And I've spoken to her. She's so just listening to her talking about
Really?
her writing and things like that. It's just, yeah, it's
She
always
also has a really good I don't know what book is it. She has a book of the book she wrote before First Woman. It's a book of so like a bunch of short stories. Again,
Yeah.
amazing. I will at some point I would love to even make one of the short stories into a film or something.
Wow.
Even a short film. It's just
Yeah.
basically just like read Ugandans living in Manchester. I think that's what it's called. Manchester Happened.
Manchester Happened. Yes,
And
that's one of the books I read. I
yeah.
read for one of the stories for that. That's how she considered
Oh,
me the first
really?
woman instead. I was so bummed as well when I didn't get Manchester Happened because it's got like Sheila Ratim,
Oh, really?
Oh, big.
Kalunji, Asimandeke. So it's got all these, amazing
Mandeke.
Ugandan
But you got a whole
actors.
book, Pauline.
I know.
Big book, you know.
But
The
at
biggest book.
at the time when when you get the news from your agent say, oh, they said that not at this point, but they will think about it for like future projects. And I was like, oh, like that's what they always say.
You think it's just a spiel?
Yeah.
But
But
it
when
came
I
back.
then spoke to her, she said, no, I actually genuinely, the minute I heard your voice, I was like, no, she'll be great for this first woman.
Amazing.
And so she told her agent that. I was like, oh, okay. I thought, oh, okay, but so but she's amazing. No, like that's what I mean. Like
She's
telling
amazing.
stories from Uganda is just one of the things I want to also start doing. So no, it's good to hear that.
How many stories do you work on at the same time? Because you just mentioned potentially the short story, and I don't know what else.
At the moment, I have two short films I'm kind of writing. There's one I should be writing this week. There's one that I'm writing at the moment, as in it's ready to have a first draft, and then I have another one where the ideas are there, the idea is there, but it's not on paper. And I also have another one that I'll have to actually do with Pauline, and then so 1, 2, 3, and then after that one, I want to do a short film in Uganda. But that short film will end up being a feature film. And I have about 5 ideas that they will ever become short films at some point. To answer you directly, 3 short films, 1 short film that's part of a feature, and another short film that's it's called Kadama, that's potentially a short film and a feature, but it could be my first feature or my second feature. Depends on, I'm doing research at the moment with it, just like immersing myself in things. My next one I'm going to make this year, do another one and go to Uganda and do the short and the feature. So like, yeah. I want to learn how to work on different short films, different ideas at the same time.
Yeah, I'm curious. Because it's such a tricky balance to actually make stuff happen. Sometimes when you have so many ideas, it can be hard to execute one. But obviously, you are executing them.
Well, no, the thing is, I get obsessed. For me, when I have an idea, I live it. I breathe it. I research it. I'll have like a sketchbook of just writing anything that comes to my mind, anything. And then I have another one where I'm just writing anything. And then I have another one where I'm just doing dialogue. I'll take all of that stuff and I'll start to somehow make a story out of it. I want to move out from that mindset of being obsessed with one idea and do 2 things at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So like 2 scripts at the same time. So while I'm waiting for feedback on this, make this one kind of thing. And I want to make them myself. I don't want to... Some of them don't need big budgets. Some of them I think I can just bang them out. You feel me?
Yeah. Where do you get the motivation from?
I think I want to make stuff. I think I want to make stuff. I want to see the stories come to life. And I think with film, when I was a photographer, I think everything came quick and went quick. You have an idea, you do it and you move on. I think with filmmaking, it's like, I love that you have an idea and you can sit with it for a year before you put it to paper, or you can have an idea in 2 weeks and put it to paper. But I think the motivation comes from just wanting to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not even just for money. I just want to do it because I love South Korean films and I love Japanese films, and I love that I always have to read it and I always I'm forced to listen to South Korean or Japanese. For me, my dream is to make films with the same pacing and the same artistic lens, but in Uganda. So, do you know what I'm trying to say? So I think I want to see them. And obviously I'm dying to work with Pauline again. So it's like, I need to like, you know what I mean? Like, con.
Yeah. It's funny how we've talked a lot about South Asian and East Asian cinema, basically Asian cinema and film or TV, but also thinking about just also like South African dramas at the moment, how they use both languages, like they're speaking English, but then it switches to, you know, Xhosa or, you know, something, it just mixes and you still get that essence. But there's a certain part of it I also enjoy where you hear how there's still the cultures of today affecting what, you know, they're not holding on, there's still a bit of both of those cultures. And then I also like the idea of when they just speak their language and you just hear it and you're watching, you're reading the subtitles, but you're also engaged and it's still engaging in that sense. It's
obviously I speak Luganda and English and I'm two different people in these languages.
Yeah.
And I think, Pauline, when we did Kojad together, when you're playing a Ugandan woman, you have to think about the cultural nuance of the cultural expectation. Like even in the scene, Pauline, the way you sit down, you have to think of how the pacing of how a Ugandan woman traditionally sits down. You have to put that into take into consideration. Even when when having an argument, Enoch, who plays Chidom in the film, initially we blocked it for him to stand up, but I couldn't let him stand up because there has to be a respect there. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't stand over you, and so we had to kind of take into this culture nuances of how an African household is. When you're expressing yourself in Uganda, it's different how you do it in English. So I think the language changes. Acting in Luganda or in any other language changes how you approach something. Do you know what I mean? Like even though on paper it might say "How are you?" You have to say like Pauline. You're obviously a Ugandan woman, and you embody that typical Ugandan woman, which is essentially in most cases and across different countries, kind of softly spoken. You never really fight back. I know it sounds bad. You're never really aggressive. You're always like someone shouts at you. You're not like your initial reaction is not to fight back. You're like you have to be passive aggressive, and do you know what I mean? So like that the Luganda allows you to do that naturally. So like even when in the film, Pauline says "Where Gendel is it," which means, and we struggled with this when it came to translating that to English because it was like, is it tread carefully, be careful, watch what you're saying. There was different ways of, but what Pauline had said, she'd said it in a way that it was winter where Gendel is it. It was like, it was gentle, but also aggressive, but also gentle. Yeah. And the English language couldn't allow, there's no English way of saying that mind your place, like you know your place. I'm still your...
Yes, the tone, of getting that tone right. Yeah, it's true. Because one thing I did as well was, because I asked my mum Belinda to translate the scene for us because she actually is a translator. She's a qualified translator, and I had to share with her the scene and the script and explain it to her, because with my mum it was also, when she looks at a script, she's not going to go, "Oh, I understand what's going on." I had to talk through the story with her and then explain it. That's why she really enjoyed the screening when we went to the screening, because she was like, "Oh, that's not how I pictured it when you're doing it." Because I said to her, when I'm doing stuff, even though I'm not doing it 100% with someone in person, because I want them, when they come to actually see it, I want them to get the full experience. So I'm very academic about it in a way, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but when I'm talking to someone who doesn't know the story, who I want them to actually enjoy it when they then go and see the show or when they go see the film, I'm very matter of fact about it. So this is this character and these are the lines. So the story is just this, and I explain it, and then I'm like, okay, so what are your thoughts on how you can translate it?
Almost neutral.
I try to be as neutral as possible. So when they're talking to me about the character I'm playing and they're like, "Well, that's not how you should do it, you should do it like this," and I'm like, thanks for that, but
what did your mum think of your performance and your depiction and delivery of that character on screen after the screening?
Yeah, she was actually surprised. To be fair, not as surprised as because she's come to a lot of my shows. So I guess when she saw it, she liked how, because she did ask, but I based that character on my mum, because also, like, I think she just said, like, is that how I am? Is that how I was like, I don't know. Is that how you are? Yes. But then she was like, oh, that reminds me of, that time when so and so wanted to send their child home. And the way you were speaking is like, that's exactly what they were saying. But she also couldn't remember translating it. This is the other thing, the great thing about it. But I think she really enjoyed it. She said she really loved it. And she loved how you told the story. And when people are asking questions about the dilemmas, she was like, yeah, but it's not as straightforward as that. It's not like I have to make a decision to send my child home because I want them to be raised in a different environment than here, or I just don't have time to look after them, or I just don't have time afford to do these things. So for her, the story, she connected deeply with it because she understood and knew those stories, and she loved that.
Do you have, obviously I need to see this film, I really do. But I'm wondering, do you have a style of directing or a sort of visual language that's distinct to you, so that when I see your projects, I'll go, oh, that's definitely, I know who directed this film.
There's more of a visual language than a style, because I'm still developing my own way of expressing myself on screen. Mm-hmm. So I think the more projects that I do, the more I will go on that journey. I have a visual style because I was a photographer first. So what that means is, in terms of how I'm framing things and in terms of how I'm putting the images together, it's being informed by my photography. But also, obviously, the films that I watch influence how I'm trying to tell the story. Obviously, I love black skin, and I love seeing black skin on screen. So straight away, there's a way I want black skin to appear in terms of the lighting. Like if it's, I love close-ups because I want to show a lot of emotion. So, but also when they're framed, I like framing, not just beautiful things, but I like, framing things purposefully. As I continue to make more films, I think I'm going to break more rules in terms of how blocking should happen, in terms of how scenes should be. Do you know what I mean? For example, I don't always like, when you watch some films, you see the reverse shot, you get, you can see the person in the cameras, or you can see like a shoulder or like a head of. I don't personally like that. Right now, I don't enjoy it as much. I like when there's just like a clean. I like when you just cut from someone's portrait to another portrait. I just like it. I just like how someone's head fills up the screen, and I feel like it just doesn't. I don't find it distractive. I just like it clean. So I think those are some of the things I like. But our scene in Koja, our scene with Pauline in the kitchen, that's the section I can say that's my film, and that's the film I want to make. And that's the film I'm going to continue to make. That scene in the kitchen represents my voice. If you want to know what I'm like as a filmmaker, just watch that scene alone. Mm-hmm. That kitchen scene, yeah. But also the vibe, the energy, Tegan and people in the room in London. I feel like
Yeah, it was a great energy that actually for that scene as well. Even just the way you guys worked, how it was nice to have that, where, because I once said this to Belinda, like sometimes people forget about the actors when a scene is changing. They forget about, what are the actors doing now? They just, they're like, all right, scene change lights, they're focused on the lights, the this and that. But getting the actors to keep and maintain that energy is also another thing. So in between those changes, the scene changes or the shot changes, shall we say, it was nice to keep that energy going, so we're still talking to each other. You're asking us about, okay, this bit, like, what are your thoughts, giving us like something to focus on. So our focus was just, you kept us in the bubble of that scene.
Wow.
So it didn't feel like we would just step aside, someone's moving a camera or mic or this, we'd just get up and still be on the side in our bubble of still within the characters and in that scene, which was really nice. And I really loved that, because you don't get that. I'm telling you, you don't get that on most sets. That you really don't.
How did you learn to do that, Derrick?
Do you know what? I was before I did Koja, I went to some acting workshops, and I was crap. I was rubbish. And I just remember the guy who does acting workshops just constantly pushing us. And I just realized that as an actor, you need to stay in the moment, and you constantly need something new to keep you, because obviously you're saying the same lines so many times. I got that from trying to be an actor. Amazing. Yeah, and I thought, this is what I would need. I need to constantly be given a point of reference. So I thought, if I can, like, obviously every scene, essentially, whatever it is, you're always want something. So I think I was always trying to remind the actors before we shoot. Sometimes I wouldn't give them notes. It would just be like, what do you want? Like, obviously we know what they want, but like just reminding them that whatever you do, this is what you're trying to get. And in that case, was it validation? In Pauline's case, it might have been trying to get the brother to understand her, trying to get the brother to love you, trying to make decisions. So sometimes I would just ask them, I would say, remember what you want, and then that would be it. And then Pauline would just take that note and just do what I guess you would just then make sense of that.
No, and it was also different every time, by the way, Belinda. It wasn't the same note every time. It was different.
Yeah.
So it was also, but yeah, it really, really helped keep us in the bubble and know that, we're okay. I like that. I liked working like that. Honestly, I enjoyed working on that scene with you. So
yeah, you sound like an actor's director, and like you got both sides, especially with your photography background.
Yes.
So you've got the oh nice. Yeah. That's always a dream to work with.
I would love to. That's my dream. That's that. Yeah, I would love to. I'm gonna try and continue with that. I would love to.
Yeah, no, keep that. Honestly, actors will appreciate that. Keeping them in the scene than just disconnecting and they're just like left hanging around just. Oh, okay, it kind of makes you understand why there's method actors who just keep doing it, the same character the whole time, because there's always that break in between takes that they don't want to lose that, so they just keep methoding all the way through. So that makes sense why they do that, but it is actually really helpful to do. So yeah, no, honestly, keep at it. I think it's great.
I will try.
What advice would you give to someone who aspires to be a filmmaker?
I think knowing yourself for me is the most important thing. Knowing yourself, being confident in your identity. Obviously, everyone's journey is different, but I think having the confidence to say, this is who I am, this is what I want to say, and it's okay. Because obviously, sometimes I forget Uganda's a small place. Obviously, I'll be talking about Uganda this. But even if it's a small place, for me, it's like, I love it. And obviously, I'm from there. And it's like, I want to put it on the map and I want to champion it. And I want to like make stories that, obviously, that question Uganda, but also I never want to make work that's like, that ridicules Uganda, that makes Uganda look bad. But that doesn't mean I can't critique it. But that comes from me wanting to not being brave enough to be vulnerable. So I think my advice to people is to just be vulnerable in your work. When you're vulnerable, like Pauline's character is it's a sensitive one for me because a lot of it is inspired by my sister. So when you're seeing it on screen, it's almost like I'm putting my life on that screen. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm using Pauline as a vehicle, but like so much of it is like, oh, I feel naked. Like people can see. Do you know what I mean? But you have to be naked to make stories that you care about. And then if you care about it, there will be someone that cares about it. Do you know what I mean?
Open to share. It's scary to do that, to expose yourself like that. Because I also got to meet his sister, who the character is, but like she was sat there just chatting away, because I didn't know how much you had told her about.
I told her nothing.
Yeah. So I had to try and have a conversation where I did let it slip. That was actually really nice because I got to get a feel of the person that the story was based on and hear her. And yeah, I would say, part of it was just listening to how she was telling it and talking and telling her story. That was quite nice.
I don't actually know how much she knows about the film, to be honest. I don't know if she clocked it. It was just like, I'm making a film, these are the characters, yeah, we're on set today. Can you help me out, please? And then Pauline just happened to be there and it's like, oh, hey guys. I'm not saying you don't look similar, but there is similarities a little bit. They've got similar kind of face, soft cheeks and that. And you can, I don't know if she clocked it. I don't know, she might have not clocked it, but
yeah, she was quite surprised as well when I said to her, oh yeah, I'm from Uganda. And she's like, oh really? And I was like, oh yeah. And then I started talking about like where I went to school in Uganda, and she's like, really? You were one of those people who went there? And then we started talking about that became a thing. But no, I don't think she did. I don't think, I mean, I kind of asked her about how her kids are doing in school and things like that and how they're coping, and if it's something she's thought about. But I don't know. I don't think
That's interesting. What did she say?
Yeah, no, because the way we talked about it, because also, like I said, I didn't want to give away too much, and I always try and be neutral when I'm talking to people about stuff. So I guess the way we had the conversation, I also talked about the people I knew who had sent their kids back home to Uganda for whatever reason, and also how kids here now cope with stuff and how they're dealing with their identities in the UK. And I said to her, but as a parent, obviously from Uganda, or growing up, how does that affect you? So I think she briefly talked about an incident at school where your niece had said how in Uganda, her mum had lived in this beautiful house. It had this big garden. It was not even a garden. It was like a big yard. Like, there's lots of space to run around. It can fit how many swimming pools in the back garden or whatever. And this kid said to her, "You're lying." And so she got really upset and they had to call her in. Oh, she's telling lies or things like that. And she's getting upset, you know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And so I was like, "Whoa, what did you do?" She was like, "Yeah, I arrived at the school." She asked the teacher, "So what happened?" And the teacher said, "What, the whole story?" She just went, "Yeah, but it's true. We don't live in a hut or whatever. We don't live in the slums. We don't live
That's
there.
funny.
We live in a big house." So she's not lying. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay," because
Wow.
and she just told her daughter, like, you're not telling, you're right, Because I asked her, "Did you bring out photographs?" She's like, "No, I don't think I need to do that because my child wasn't lying at that point." And at first I was tempted to, but then I was like, no, why should you say my child is lying or that we're lying? So now are you going to say that I'm lying just because the way we live here is different to what we live over there? And I was like, yeah, that's the thing. The understanding of what wealth is as well is different because of the cultures here. They think that people are here because people from Africa, from many parts of the world are not just in the UK because they're running away from war. They're running away from something. They're just here because they want maybe a better education, but their life back home is not as bad as you might think. Yeah, it was trying to help her daughter understand that, your niece understand that and just know that people think differently of what they think of Africa when they think of Africa.
Yeah, there's so many misconceptions in all directions, right?
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah.
So we shared stories like that.
The point is, it's an entire continent. You're gonna get every story and every type of life.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be one thing. You could never visualize what it is.
Yeah, it's like if we went to Africa, they said focusing on the homeless here in the UK, that type of thing, and everyone just all they ever see on the West is homeless people. Of course, they're not saying it's not there. It's just that's not what makes a place. That's not what makes the people.
You wouldn't think, if you saw any TV based on London, you wouldn't think that there were people from other countries speaking other languages here with accents. I mean, I look at my friendship group who are so international, and of course I know a lot of actors, and they never get to speak in their natural accent when they're filming stuff. And it's like, London is full of accents. Get on a tube, but it's not reflected in film and TV. Rarely is it reflected.
Well, so when I was making Kojo, one of the things that obviously I knew that it's things I can do where the average viewer, the everyday viewer, the non-Ugandan viewer, they will eat it up and like it anyways. But I was always so worried about like not messing up for the Ugandan viewer. I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, Uganda's going to watch this. This must feel real for them.
Yeah.
Like, if Pauline's saying something, like, even though more viewers might not be Ugandan, in my head, I was like, I don't want Ugandans to watch this and be like, nah, that ain't it.
Exactly.
Like, you got that one wrong. At the back of my head, I always thought to myself, okay, I need to feel like this in my head and in my heart. This needs to feel right. Do you know what I mean? Even when Enoch's character, who's written to not be good at speaking Luganda, like I remember people saying, he didn't pronounce it right. And I have to say, do you know what? It's actually written for him to not have perfect Luganda. Like, I know if my parents watch the film, they'll be like, nah, she ain't saying it right. They're so critical. So it's like when you're working in those, in that way, you're more critical to yourself. We all have an idea of like a Black British, obviously like African British. And it's like, you can say you have room to play. With Pauline's character, she had to get it right. Do you know what I mean? Like, it has to feel right.
Specific, yeah. Not some generic.
Like, Pauline's mum needs to watch and say, a woman will not do that. Ugandan woman will not do that. Like, Ugandan woman will just not do that. So you have to get there.
Yeah. I was nervous when she came to see it because I was like, oh, what's she going to say? When people are asking questions like, But no, she did enjoy it. She really did. So what's next for you? Obviously, you've talked about all the different projects that you're going to be doing. So what's...
I've got a short film that I'm writing now. It's, I don't know if what I'm going to shoot first, but it doesn't have a name, but it's about a Ugandan taxi driver. He drives a black cab, and then in the film we just kind of see him doing his job, but he picks up another Ugandan guy kind of thing, and then things just happen, And then I have another film. Essentially, it's about Ugandans, and it kind of touches on inheritance a little bit. It touches on inheritance. Like in Uganda, inheritance is a big thing. And how like women are not allowed to inherit things from their fathers in Uganda. Only sons can inherit stuff. So I have a film I'm writing that kind of poses the idea of inheriting stuff. And then I have another one called Kadama, which is a very sensitive subject. Kadama in Uganda is basically Ugandan women that are trafficked or travel to Saudi Arabia and Dubai to work as housemaids. Those are the themes of that one. But that one, we don't know where that's going to go. It's just such a sensitive subject. That's going to take me some time to But basically, it touches on human trafficking that's happening in the Middle East, people from Africa. And then my feature film about a Ugandan guy that it's like basically he's a Ugandan guy that's into kung fu, and we kind of just follow him trying to raise money to become a kung fu champion. In a way.
That's cool.
Wow. Yeah.
But it will be deeper than that kind of thing.
Always is, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like that. It just reminds me, in Uganda, there's these films called Chibanda.
Yeah.
And basically, Belinda, it's this one narrator throughout the film explaining what is happening in a film.
Oh, wow.
So, but in Luganda. So he's explaining what's happening. So your film could be in any language.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what they're saying or what they do, but it's like he exaggerates. It's amazing it's interesting. If you understand the language, it's interesting to hear and watch.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And so
also, like in Uganda, like you go to like these little towns, right? These little towns. Sorry, Pauline, for taking over.
No.
You get to these little towns and you get to Chibanda, which is essentially a little cinema. And it's meant, not every single one of them, but sometimes it can be made out of anything. And then they'll have one TV on the biggest speakers. Speakers are so loud that all village can almost hear them, yeah? And you go in and you watch these films, kung fu films, action films, and someone essentially is narrating every single scene.
Wow.
Saying it back. Or what they will be saying back, but they're also adding their own special effects.
Yes.
So it will be a scene where the guy walks in and the guy, so let's say, imagine a scene, the guy walks in and he says, how you guys doing? And then let's say he gets into a fight or whatever, in English, innit? And then in Uganda, it will go something like this. How you guys doing? Guy, I'm a gamble too, say. Guy, I'm gonna take it. And then the guy is hiding on his own sound effects. He's narrating the whole film back in Luganda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like 70% true. 30% flavor, like
that's hilarious.
Makes it much.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of raga radio stations where you're like, just play the song, because they'll play the song and the MC will be like, and then like going on and then like sing over the bits, and you're like, look, shh, I want to hear the song, but they're like adding all this on top. So it reminds me a bit of that.
Sometimes they even come on TV or national TV. It's actually amazing storytelling. It's amazing storytelling.
Wow.
Like they'll be like, Papa, now my ticket.
And the other guys just said,
I love it as a kid, though.
High five, yeah. But it's
I like that. Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's amazing. No, I look forward to that. That sounds exciting. For our listeners, is there anything that you would recommend, whether to watch, to see, something that inspires you as a person, as an artist? Could be anything that inspires you, or even not even, but something you'd recommend for them to watch or see or read.
Of course, so many things, but I think I'm going to start with Tukimbuki, which is obviously a legendary African film by, oh my God, I feel so bad. I might have not pronounced it right as well. So Tukimbuki, Hyena, and another amazing film. One of my favorite filmmakers is called, I'm going to butcher his name so badly, Mohamed Saleh Haloun. If I didn't say it right, he's from Chad. He's got a film called The Sacred Bonds. All his films are amazing. He's like one of the, like right now, like he's about 60 years old. Like I love his films. All his films are about Chad, either in Chad or in France. Some amazing South Korean films, like obviously Burning. A lot of people, you guys might have watched it already. There's another crazy film, controversial film called Oasis. Crazy film. Yeah, I have so many films I could literally give you guys like a list of like of things. But Sacred Bonds is one of my favorite films. Watch that if you can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Derrick. Thanks for coming on our show. It's really energizing talking to you.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully your viewers enjoy this conversation.
I'm sure they will. And we're looking forward to the future projects in the future. Keep us updated. Please.
No, there's more coming. Don't worry. I feel like we're going to be working together for many more years to come. Like I've got the. I felt kind of bad because Martha was such a miserable character.
She wasn't miserable. She
was miserable, but like, she like worked hard and she was tired and just immigrant. But I feel like you're quite a fun person and you do humor so well. So I would love to see you do humor on screen so people can see you're actually funny. You don't see funny black women on screen. Like it's always like, shit, and like serious.
Yeah, thank you. No, honestly, I appreciate those are such kind words. And it was also such a pleasure working with you and having you on the show as well. And I'm sure Belinda will get to meet you and I'll drag her along to something. And,
for real. For sure. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful weekend. Life. No, joking. Well, do, but we're going to be in touch before. Oh,
Oh,
amazing guest. Where do we
yeah.
find them, Pauline?
Yeah, I don't know where we find these people. It's amazing how we know all kinds of people and they're so amazing. And what I know of a lot of our guests that we've met is what I see, but when they talk to us about themselves, it's just nice.
It's so
It's,
nice.
yeah, I've got a deeper understanding of them as an artist and how
Yeah.
their lives have influenced them creatively,
Hmm.
which is
They're
nice.
all so positive. They
Mm,
all seem to radiate this positive energy. And I think that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're also
yes.
passionate.
Yeah.
It's what keeps them in the game, and that's what makes them do amazing things, is this incredible infectious energy.
Mm,
Yeah, what a gift.
yeah. Oh, I'm so
I loved his
happy.
words about you as well.
I
So
know. I
nice.
did. Yeah. I just, yeah, I
Did
didn't
you
even
pay him to
realize.
say that?
I was going to say I didn't pay him to say that, by the way, but I was trying not to be inappropriate. No, I didn't realize how much. So Kalunji Semandike, who is an actor, director, I'm also going to see if I can get him on the show.
Hmm.
We did the books by Jennifer Nsubuga, the writer, Ugandan writer. So he did Chintu, the other character, but I think Chintu was more about the descendants of a warrior. And he did that book. And I did the other book, The First Woman, but we never actually even met. But because the producer, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, wants to keep in touch. Do you want to keep in touch?" Like, yeah, share my details. And then he messaged me and said, "Hey, by the way, they're casting this short film and they're looking for a Ugandan character. I know it says East African, but actually I think they really need a Ugandan character." And yeah, he told me apply. They're expecting you to apply. And I was like, okay. So yeah, and I applied and I
Amazing.
did the tape. And I remember just thinking, I did the first take and I was like, it just felt like a normal tape I was doing. But I was like, no, wait,
Yeah.
actually, when I thought about the tape, the character, and I was like, I never get to do this. So I was like, you know what? I'm
Mm.
going to enjoy this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I had the script, but I did it, yeah, mixed Luganda with it,
Amazing.
words and everything.
Amazing. I love
And
that.
yeah, I never realized how much of that influence. Because
Yeah.
I saw briefly when we did the promo shoot by the producer, oh, by the way, did you know that most of the characters were cast around you? And I was like, what? No, but hearing him actually
Yeah, I'm
say
proud.
that,
It makes me feel proud of you.
oh,
I'm
thanks,
already proud of you.
guys. I'm
Yeah,
hiding from
amazing.
the compliments because I can't take it. But
No, it's beautiful.
yeah, so yeah, that was a lovely Derrick Kakembo, who is a photographer, director, writer, filmmaker, basically
Yeah.
filmmaker. And yeah, looking forward to the future innings of his works.
Where can we see Koja?
Koja,
Koja. Go on, say it again.
Koja,
Koja.
yeah, Koja, yeah.
Koja.
Yeah, I think it might be still available on Vero, which is his filmmaker profile on this app called Vero. But I can share it in the links as well below so
Amazing.
people can watch it.
Yeah.
That's us this week, and we shall speak with you soon.
Speak with you soon. Speak to with for you soon. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.